good morning everyone, I hope you're all well. It's just about into the second week of November now, and woke up this morning to a very fresh start. 6 degrees it was when I opened the back door this morning. Bearing in mind the last week or two we've had quite reasonable temperatures for this time of year. We've had 14 and 15 degrees, so a bit of a sharp start this morning. Not quite a ground frost, but not far off it. So a little bit stuck for ideas today. So bearing in mind that virtually all the sea now is full of whiting, it's pretty much a gimme. If you fish anywhere off the beach, that's all you're going to get at the moment. Might get the odd dogfish, the odd dab, but predominantly it's going to be whiting everywhere. So thinking a little bit outside the box, I've decided to travel down into Suffolk again. So it's a couple of fish I can tick off my species hunt if possible, and that's the humble rockling. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I know, but it will give me something a little bit different to do today. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to travel down to the Southwold area, and hopefully I'm going to park up not far from the harbour and walk up the river. Now the river is the River Blyth, and it empties into the estuary, and so what I intend to do is fish in the river between Southwold and the main estuary and see if I can tempt a few of these mini species that live in there. And I've had a little go before, and it's quite a fun way of doing things. Now, just to make it a little bit more interesting, instead of packing all my big rods and big reels today, I've actually packed a variety of very light rods. So I'm going to start off with, I've got my normal 3-piece Conti rod in there and reel, just in case it is pulling through too much to use the lighter gear. I've also packed in a 2 3/4 pound Carp rod with 12-pound line on a reel, and I've also packed in a river feeder rod with 8-pound line on a smaller setup, and hopefully that'll be the one that I can probably use to pick off these little fish. Chances are there could be the odd dab, maybe a flounder as well. You never know, there might even be a whiting in that part of the river as well. It wouldn't surprise me. In the summer, in the warmer weather, you do get loads of little micro bass up there, and I've seen people lure fishing in this area for bass in the summer. So that's the plan. I'm now only about 15 minutes away from Southwold. I had to delay the filming because literally the sunlight is so low today and so bright that you couldn't see nothing on the camera. You can probably still see bits of it flashing through there now. Very, very bright and sunny. Not sure if that's going to have any effect on what I'm doing today. Normally the water's quite coloured in the area. But about 10 minutes to go and I'll be there, and I'll bring you back when I get into the car park. So I've come into Southwold. I've hung a right down towards the golf course, and now I'm just going to approach the main harbour car park. It just here, so I'm just going to have a look and see what the car park charges are, and then get parked. It's just a short walk down to where I'm going to fish. I think first of all we'll have a look at the charges. Okay, so I unloaded the car, and I don't know if you can see in the distance, there's some chimney pots sticking up just at the end of this bridge over here. I've took that little walk along. There's a proper little gravel path there, less than 5 minutes, over to the other side of the bridge there, then cross the bridge and come down this little track here. And one thing I will say is this ground is quite marshy and boggy, and on very big tides it will actually get covered, so you've got to keep an eye on that. It can get very wet underfoot. But this is the River Blyth, just up there I reckon about half a mile is the entrance, Southwold, and then it comes down through under this bridge, flows through here, right the way round, and in the far distance there you can see a tree line. Over there is Blyth, and that's where it empties up into an estuary. So looking at the water, plenty of colour in it, and out there you can see there's quite a bit of flow. So it may well be that I have to use a bit of grip leads today. What I might do is fish one rod further out and one rod closer in, because on the inside here it's fairly slack, and also we've even got a bit of a back eddy down there. So I've just set up the tripod there and the water bucket, and when I went down to get some water, the flow was actually going the other way against this bank, so it's a bit of a back eddy. So what I'll do now is just get a couple of rods set up. As I said, I'm going to probably start off with a carp rod as the longer, bigger rod, and a small little river feeder rod for scratching around on the inside. I'll run through the baits and rigs and everything in a minute, as soon as I get some rods set up. Okay, so the setup today there is a 12-foot, 2 3/4 pound test curve carp rod. That is fitted with a 10,000 size bait runner style reel, front drag, and that's rigged up with 12-pound line, and I think it's got a 20-pound shock leader. Shouldn't really need that. I'm not going to be casting, I'm just going to be literally underarming it, I think. The other rod, very interesting for this type of fishing. It's basically a river setup. So that's a 10-foot feeder rod, and that's fitted with a 4,000 size reel, and that's got 8-pound line on it. And you can see by this, it's a very, very sensitive quiver tip. So hopefully I'll be able to fish that closer in. As I say, it is pulling through quite a bit from what I can see. So it'll be interesting to see whether I can get away with that. And what I'll probably do is fit it with one of the little night tide rests onto the leg of my tripod to get it a bit lower, and we'll see if we can get away with that. So I'm keeping it really simple today with rigs. It's going to be 2 or 3 hook flappers. That one there is a 3 hook with a size 4s on about 6 or 8 inch snoods, and then I've got a couple of little variations of it there. So I've got slightly longer snoods on that one, and then I've got that one there, although it says 2 hook clip 4, that is actually size 6 hooks on that one in the middle. And there's a 3 hook clipped, which I probably won't use it clipped, with a long shank size 4, which are quite small in the gape. They're more like a size 6. So yeah, I'm probably going to have small hooks in and out, different baits on different rigs. See if we can tempt something. Go on to the baits now. Oh, before I do that, I just thought I'd show you the leads I brought with me today. So you can see in there I have got a couple of 4 ounce and a 5 ounce grip, but most of them in there are plain, and I'm hoping on that little rod I might be able to get away with something like that, which is a 2 ounce grip lead. Those little pimples will grip the mud on the bottom. I've got various other ones, I've got flat leads in there. 5 ounce flat one there, if it is bombing through. Obviously on that little river rod I'm going to be restricted, because I think about 2 ounces is the most it will cast, but that should grip. I'll give it a try in a minute and just see how it holds up. And bait wise today I'm a little bit restricted. I wanted to try and pick up some fresh lug this morning, but unfortunately we're having some work done on their electrics this morning, and so they were closed. So it's going to have to be frozen baits. I'm not too fussed about that for these little mini species and probably flats. What I've got in here is probably going to be plenty good enough. So I've got a wrap of fresh blacks there. I've got another wrap of frozen blacks. As you can see, I've got some razor clams there, a little bit of squid, a little bit of mackerel fillet in case I want to just tip the baits. And I've also brought some baits there, which is fresh lug, which I oiled and froze. So I always find that if you oil them before you freeze them, those little blow lug do tend to hold together a little bit better. So I would have thought they're going to be okay. They're going to be the next best thing to fresh. So different baits, we'll give them a try, see how we get on. Okay, so on the carp rod I've got a 3 hook flapper, and I've got a bit of black on the bottom with a little squid tentacle, a little bit of squid in the middle, a bit of fish on the top, We've got a 4 ounce plain lead. Now the other one I've changed over to a 2 ounce fairly flat. That did hold for quite a while. It's now just starting to pull round, so I should imagine there's a bit of weed or something on there. So just before I cast this out, I'm going to have a look at that, just to make sure it's not going to be in front of where I'm fishing. Now obviously that rod is probably at its maximum with 2 ounce. So let's have a look now. It's just literally the flow, the pressure of the water pulling it round. So might be a little bit of weed or something on there. So say it's a 2 ounce, fairly flat. Yeah, there's a little tiny little bit of weed. Nothing to worry about. And that's been out there probably well over 5 minutes. That'll be the next one I'll rig up. And there's the little rest I was talking about, the little night tide. Right, let's get this carp rod out. So it's a 4 ounce lead on here, plain, but a diamond shape, so it should grip the bottom. Okay. I'm just going to plonk that out on the edge of that flow like I did before. Feel it onto the bottom. Quite a lot of depth there. And then we'll set that in the rest. And we'll see what happens. As you can see, the rod's got a fair old bend in it, but it can handle it. I've used this with feeders up to 2 ounce, loaded with ground bait, so this will be slightly less. I'm just going to plonk that on a bit closer. And you've got a nice bit of depth there. And as I say, I'm putting that on the lower rest. And now the tip will bend right over on that. That's nothing unusual. That is how it should set. And if I can get bites on that small rod, it should be proper indications. Alright, the first 2 casts are now in. And as you can probably see, the little rod is not exactly gripping, it's sort of slowly moving round. And as the pressure of the water and any debris touch that line, that tip goes over quite a lot compared to the other one. The other one's perfect, it's settled down, it hasn't moved, and it's just got a tiny little bit of tension on the tip. But it should still be sensitive enough to see bites, much better than sea rods. So we'll see how these first 2 casts go. Not ideal conditions with the weather being so bright and sunny, but plan is today, we've got now 10:45. I think it's around about 1 o'clock high, 12:50, something like that. And then I'll fish it up to the top, and then I'll fish it down to possibly 3 o'clock. So with a bit of luck, by 2 o'clock the light level should be dropping a bit. And if we haven't had nothing up to then, that's when I'd expect to catch. Yeah, it does actually make a change to be actually fishing in the sea without the sound of the waves, to be honest with you. Had this before when I fished the rivers up at West Norfolk. Oh, that looked like a bite. Right hand rod. That was more of a sharp pull down or a drop back. I'm pretty sure that's a crab pulling on that. Let's have a look, see if I can reel it in slow enough to get it in, see if it is the culprit. No, it actually feels light. I don't know. There might be something on there. No. Blob of weed again. So that's coming through on that tide and obviously catching the tip. All comes off pretty easily, to be fair. Baits look alright. Squid on the bottom, fish on the top, so I'm going to replace that straight back where it was. And that is literally a little underarm. Get it down on the bottom. I don't think I said, but going back when I arrived, I said about the car park. I was going to get out and check the car park charges. Now, there's no facility there to pay for anything. There was a few rules and regs, i.e. overnight parking, leaving your engine running and things like that. But there was no actual facility there to pay for anything. So, to all intents and purposes, it is a free car park. I did ask someone in one of the Airbnbs there, right next to it. She didn't know if it was free or whether there's a charge. But what she did say was it is susceptible to high tide. So if you park right near the front and you get an exceptionally high tide, you could find your wheels underwater. They had to move a car during a couple of days ago on a higher tide. So I've checked the tides today, they're not particularly high, and we've got, what, a couple of hours? Looking at this where I'm fishing now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it just comes over the top of where we're fishing on this grassy bank. It does look quite wet to my left, so I'll keep an eye on that. Behind me there's a couple of pallets and I'll put my rod holder on there, so if worst comes to worst, I can move all the kit onto those pallets, and that's about, I don't know, there's 2 pallets high, so it's about a foot off the ground. So I've got that as an option if it does start coming over the front. Just under 2 hours to go. Possibly it's not going to. I need to check that more and more. I think I'm getting mullered. And there it goes again. And there's the culprit. It's tucking into a bit of razor fish, that one. I think he's actually hooked, that one. I don't think it's going to come off. Yes, he is. Back you go, matey. I'll never sort of worry too much about whether there's crabs, because obviously the fish eat them. So I always think where there's crabs there's going to potentially be some fish. And it's whether the fish can get to the bait before the crabs, that's the only thing. That line is literally slack on the feeder rod. I'm going to have a look at that. And that's right inside here. Bearing in mind I put it further out than that. It's going to be a crab, isn't it? Or 2. No. There you go. There you go. Target species. Well. Let's just get him sorted out in the water, unhooked and identified. He's obliged. I think it's a 3-bearded. I'm going to have to make a proper positive ID as towards my species hunt. So after all the little false alarms with the crabs, I finally got what I've come for. That's a little rockling, and as you can probably see at the front there, 3 beards. So he's a 3-bearded rockling. Get a nice picture now for him from my species hunt, and then get back in. So there you go. We ploughed through the crabs, and this is what he took. It's just a little bit of black with one of those oiled fresh lugs whipped to it to give it a bit more scent. And that went out a little bit further into the flow, and I actually saw the line slacken off. I had a few indications earlier on, but I'm pretty sure that that was crabs. But then he's dislodged the lead and actually dragged it towards the bank. I saw a bow in the tip gradually getting bigger. So there you go, mission accomplished for one. There is a 5-bearded possible here as well, so I shall press on and we'll see what happens later on. And settled, I've just sat back down and started to whip another bait, and that's going again, and that's proper little taps. More like a fish than a crab. So maybe it's just the state of the tide. We're just off of about 50 minutes from high, but it does look like it has eased up a bit, that flow out there, so potentially that's got something to do with it, a feeding time maybe. Same baits are on both hooks now, so it's a little bit of black with a little bit of the oiled lug whipped with it, just to give it a little bit more scent. Right, a little running rig. I've set up a little running rig there with 2 hooks on, one just teed off the other one on a fairly long trace, and I'm going to flick that closer in. 2-ounce lead on that. Took the 4-ounce off, and I'm just going to flick that over just on the edge of that flow again, same as this one. Well, finally I got both rods in 5 minutes, and I managed to get a cup of coffee poured out. I don't know if you noticed, but I've only got a brolly up today, not a shelter. I did think it would be easier if I had to move quickly here today. Now, looking at the level, it's just about level with the lip of this grassy bank I'm on now, so with what we've got, possibly about half an hour, 25 minutes to go to high tide. It should be okay today. It's not going to come right up, and that also should be good news for my car, because I've parked it quite a way back from the edge after the lady in the Airbnb told me that the level can come right up. I looked to see where it had been, where it was all wet, parked a little bit shy of that. So looking at this, don't think there's going to be any problems when I get back to the car park. Yeah, the breeze has picked up a little bit now. I don't know if you can hear it flapping on the brolly, but I'm sort of tucked in here and you don't notice it. Really nice, pleasant day. It's not quite as bright and sunny as when I first got here, which is ideal. I don't like it too bright. I'm just going to now carry on changing the baits. The other rod now has been converted over to that long, like running ledger, and that's got an extra long hook link with 2 hooks on, and the same oiled blacks. So oiled fresh lug and blacks whipped together. Nice juicy little compact baits. So as I say, it's just coming up to high tide now, and as you can see around the back there, just right at the back of the shelter, and even here, it's starting to just flood onto this grass where my tripod is and my feet. So you've got to be aware of that. This is not particularly a high tide today. If anything higher than what it is today. So it's even come round a little bit back behind me where that pallet is, where my rod holder is. As I say, if it does come any higher, I'll probably retire onto there, but I don't think I'm going to have to. It's just literally at the feet of the tripod now, and with probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most to go. I think I'll get away with it. All I've done is made sure everything that's touching the ground is waterproof, like a bucket, that lead thing, my bag under there, EVA bag, so nothing can really get wet and covered in this quite sort of sticky clay mud. Right, another bait change for the right hand rod. It's been pulling and dropping and lifting. The line's still tight this time though, but I think that might be because that tide's starting to go the other way. The centre of the river isn't, but both these rigs are now going the other way. Nothing on there at all, no crabs, no weed, nothing. No bait either. So let's get them rebaited. I've just literally whipped up some more. Yeah, it's actually come right in behind me there, that water. But as I say, it's just saying 10 minutes left of the flood. So hopefully that'll go back down as quick as it's come up. And we won't have any issues. I mean, at the end of the day, I've got welly boots on. I ain't going to have any problem getting off of here, even if it did flood. There's plenty of dry bits. There's quite a big, like a gully thing behind me, but on this side of it, if you like. So I can walk round it. I wonder if those pallets have been set up there for a reason. Someone fishes here a lot. It's probably more to do with something else. I think they do a lot of water skiing here in the summer. They potentially use that, set their gear up on or whatever. But anyway, let's get this back in. Let's see, that's going the other way again now, that rod. It's funny, it's like a back eddy. It's going to whoosh that out into its spot where it's been going. Feel it down at the bottom. And set that in there. What I might do actually, just move the bucket at the back there so I can put the handle of the rod on there. Keep it off the deck. I'm just going to quickly check the tide now and see what the height is. It's got little taps on that this time, not that one. The right hand rod, it's only just gone out. So today's tide height is 2.6 metres at high water. It can go up to 3 metres here, so anything bigger than 2.6 you're going to struggle sitting on here at high tide. I'm going to have a look at that, even if it is a crab. As you can see, I'm now about, just not quite ankle deep, but I'm getting there. Dead weight. Yeah, crabs I think. I don't know, there's a little kick there. Ah, it's a big old crab, look at that. Big old shore crab. Get off. He's actually got both the lead and the hook jabbed round him. Quite a big one that. Muller in the bait, no wonder the tip moved. Right, if I can fish. Gotta be. That pull like that is a proper bite. Oh, I think I just pulled out of it. Yeah, I have. That was a proper bite. A couple of little taps and then the tip pulled right round. Wow, how did I miss that? Right, straight back out. I haven't been out there that long, to be honest. Oh, it's just gone again, look at that. What the hell was that? More like a bass. That went straight away again. How strange. Hooks are all proud. Plenty of point. are showing. Right, that's interesting. 2 very quick bites, almost instant. Let's put that on the rest quickly and we'll wait for a second. There's no way that was a crab. And literally had a couple of little taps and whack, down it went. I don't know if the camera caught that. It's almost as if like a school of tiny little bass or something were going through. Little tap there. I've got to say that was probably the first proper bite I've seen all day. Let's sit down and see if it'll go. Seems strange that it's gone twice within 2. There it goes again. Look, that's a fish. That's not crabs. I'll wait this time to see if it'll pull right down. Although saying that, as I said earlier on, those rockling can give you quite a vicious little bite. Especially if there's a few of them and they're sort of fighting over it, territorial. They can give you quite a good pull round, even on proper sea rods. The first time it went, it pulled right down. As if you're on a carp lake and the tip goes right round and carries on going. That's what happened. And as I say, we're moving into the 2:30, 20 to 3 sort of time, which I said earlier on would be the time I thought would be the best time as the light starts fading away. And it's also coinciding here with maybe even slack water now. Doesn't look like there's a lot of flow, and I'm having to put the bend in the tip myself, so it may be coinciding with slack water and a few fish are moving about. Still no movement on the carp rod, so I might even retire that in a minute. That'll make the task perhaps a little bit easier if I'm concentrating on just the one rod and one set of baits each time. Get that other rod in. Seeing as it's done next to nothing, I'll concentrate the last half an hour on the one rod. We're gradually getting drier on around the seat box now. I can see it gradually getting less and less, so that's one good thing. We're not going to get soaked. Right, that went, and I'll get that, whatever that is. That was like a river drop back bite, and it feels like it could be a fish. It is a fish. What it is, I do not know. It's definitely a fish. A crab there as well. And look at that. Well, there you go. It wouldn't be a winter session without one of these. Not altogether surprised that one's turned up. The good old whiting. So that's probably the answer to those rattly little snatchy bites. Yeah, on this gear, it's bloody brilliant sport, to be fair. So, just shows you they get up there as well in this river. Well, there we go, look, proof of the pudding. Whiting up the River Blyth just before you go into the estuary. And on that little light rod, that actually felt quite good. Second fish of the day. Let's get him put back. Okay. So I've now got it set on the rest exactly as you would if you was right feeder fishing on a river. The butt of the rod is literally resting on the box next to my knee. So if I get a good pull down and a bite, my hand is literally 2 inches from the reel. I can pick that up and go straight in. What I might do is quickly reposition it, and as it's in, as I say, I'll fit on one of the hooks a straight strip of mackerel. Deadly whiting bait. Each to their own, I suppose. Alright, let's get this back in. I'm going to cast it more straight this time, rather than down the tide. Get back quickly and I'll rest it on there rather than the cup. And we'll see what happens. I can see now that tip's pulling round straight away, so we've got the tides back now. The full ebb. That's putting a fair old pressure on that tip. Another nice drop back. I think that's a fish. Cool. Yeah, well on this little light gear. Definitely a fish. Probably another whiting, to be fair. Oh, it's a decent whiting. Yeah, it's a lovely whiting. And that's took the mackerel strip, funny enough. A little crab hanging on the bottom. But there you go. Crab's gone. That is a lovely whiting, especially out the river. And as I say, it took the mackerel strip, nice big drop back. Can't complain at that. And on this light gear, that is brilliant. Great sport. Another couple of casts. I've got plenty of mackerel, so I might have another couple of casts now. And yeah, one more cast, isn't it? It's always one more cast, even if it is whiting. Well, you can't grumble at that. That's put up a fair old account on that little rod. I'd be happy with that off the beach, let alone in the river like this. Yep, lovely. I'm tempted to just flick that carp rod back up and stick that out with a grip lead on for the last 10 minutes, because I think that'll stay in that flow better. I'll use the same rig. Well, the 3 o'clock finish has been and gone. It just shows you that we're all the same, aren't we? One last cast. And you're just thinking about putting stuff away and packing up, and then you get another nice bite. And that sort of starts the timer again for one last cast. But I think we basically are on the last cast now. If I can hook one more fish, that'll be it for me. Hope that's been a little bit of an entertainment today. Yeah, it's probably a little bit weird that someone will set out to catch rockling. But as I say, part of my species hunt, I needed a couple of rockling on there. I know I'm probably going to pick them up during the winter anyway, beach fishing. But I just thought today, rather than go down the beach anywhere and start hauling out loads of whiting, possible few dabs, maybe a dog, I thought I'd literally set my stall out to catch one of these things today, and I've done that. So mission accomplished as far as that's concerned, or half the mission. I've got the 3 bearded, I just need a 5 bearded now. Had several of those last season as well, last winter. I'm pretty confident I'll get one. A couple of little taps on that then. You just get a slight little indication whether it be crabs or the fish. You get a little nod and then a proper pull around. So there's a couple of little taps, there's another one. There it goes. And I'd say that's on. I'm going to get that reeled in a bit quicker this time so I'm away from that snag. No, there's a bit of a reed or something on there. Might have been that. No. There is another fish on there, and it is another whiting. And that, folks, is going to be a wrap. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much if you're one of the 3,000 subscribers I've got. Didn't think I'd ever get that far. But thank you again to everyone. Catch you on the next one somewhere, on another weird and wonderful mission.